Hi, everyone. Welcome to Netevia's Podcast. I'm Moon, your host, and around here, we're all about fintech, payments, and what's next in the world of business. Whether you are building your business or scaling it, or just curious about how money moves, we've got you covered. Today, we're going to be talking about risk and underwriting, more specifically. So in order to help me dive deeper into the subject, I'm here with Senior Vice President of Risk and Senior Vice President of Underwriting and Open Banking. Yes. Welcome.
Hello.
Ryan.
Hi.
And Norma.
Hello.
My first question would be, what is your approach for to building an effective team, especially in the industry of payments and most specifically risk? We'll start with that.
Sure. So I think one of the important things when building a team is you want to make sure that you're hiring and finding people who align with your overall mission and not necessarily just the task at hand. Because if you have somebody that is going to work with you on the end goal you have for your company, your department, or whatever you're trying to do, they're going to help build with you instead of kind of having just general robotic workers who, you know, they can do this task, but they're not going to help you be strategic and grow. And that's what you're looking for when you're trying, well, one of the things you're looking for when you're trying to grow a team.
And what about you, Norma?
It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, you want this team to go along with the journey with you, right? Of building and strategizing. And, you know, to Ryan's point, you just don't want to hire somebody to just do the work at task, right?
Definitely.
At hand. So we want to find people that really want to grow the business, that want to grow along with the department, and that want to, you know, see the business succeed.
So it's more about the adapting the company culture and having also strong interpersonal skills, because they can have the skills on paper, but then it's another thing when it comes to...
So there's several layers, because you may find somebody who their resume looks great. They're hitting all of those requirements and experience. But then you also have to look at, yes, do they fit in with our culture here? You know, you think about who you currently have on their team. Do you think they'll get along well with your other team members in whatever role the other team members are, even if it's, you know, they have to interact with other departments. So sometimes you have to look a little bit beyond just the resume and what's on paper to find that good fit that's really going to help your team expand.
It's sometimes some people don't even have that specific requirement that you're looking for, but it's just that their personality
potential.
and it's the potential, exactly. And they're willing to learn and they're willing to grow and they want to look, you know, when you're speaking to somebody, I think Ryan and I could tell when we're speaking to somebody that, hey, this person may not have all the qualities that we're looking for, but
they have some.
Exactly. And they have that spark to really want to grow
and the
really
ability to learn. And
They have that something where it's like they have some of them, and you know that based on the other factors, you'll be able to help them grow and then, you know, grow into the team.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the non-negotiables for you to be able to do your job effectively in this industry that is very demanding and...
Prioritization. You have a lot coming at you very fast. Being able to organize that as far as what's like, hey, I have to get this done and move this stuff over, versus like, hey, you know, I can, you know, move this here, but being able to identify like this is a fire that has to be put out, or I know I got to report to my senior management and they're going to need this yesterday. And I think that's kind of a non-negotiable of being able to identify those areas.
sometimes you'll get somebody and they'll just do the task at hand, but they won't ask like if it's important, if you know, if it could be moved to the bottom of what needs to be done now, that's priority. So I think people that are willing to speak up and say, hey, you know, I need a little bit of help here. It kind of helps us determine, okay, this is what we need to work
just
with.
to guide them better.
Yes.
Over-communicating is definitely
much
welcome.
Yeah. It definitely is. Sometimes we say no, but it really is. Over-communicating is
It also helps you identify as a whole maybe where your team possibly needs more training, where there's a gap in learning. And you can use that, to help enhance your team, or they may identify something that you don't even think of because they're possibly more involved in the day-to-day aspects
and you're busy
of things.
with everything being thrown at you all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the stress, or like do you have tips on like how to get organized, or how to handle like this like big load of information and work and stimulation?
One, calendar reminders, honestly, AI assistants, especially now with all the AI going on.
And the tools that you have out there at your disposal. I mean, you can really use these tools to kind of help you put yourself together and say, okay, these are the tasks at hand that need to be handled today. And they help keep you on track because especially being in the position that we're in, we are getting thrown stuff at us all the time.
Left and right.
Oh my goodness.
So you can automate some of these tasks using AI tools, or obviously, you're the one, you cannot replace people.
AI is coming a long way, but I mean, there always
know
needs
how
that.
to use it better.
Yeah, there's that human aspect. I think another thing too is we have everybody can see each other's calendars. If we need to schedule something, I can make sure that it's not in conflict with anything else Norma has without having to bother her and be like, hey, what's your schedule? Then she has to go look at it. So we can coordinate that way for team meetings, one-on-ones, anything specific that needs to be handled. And to your point, at the end of the day, when we're talking about AI, a goal would be to automate the mundane tasks. Those little repetitive things that everybody has to do manually.
That are time-consuming.
Yeah.
Right. So then you have your team focusing on some of the more specific or the more complicated tasks that require, a little bit more
hand-holding and
thought.
Yeah. Let's look at this. Let's really think. And with low-risk accounts, to Ryan's point, taking AI into consideration, there are some things that we can look at and say, okay, we know what to do here. We do it all the time, right? So those tasks could be handled by AI and probably shadowed by somebody, which would be much faster versus a high-risk account, which really needs to be viewed manually at times.
Exactly.
Right? Because you have to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at one thing and say, oh, okay, we can improve it. Right?
So there is a limit in using innovation. So, that was going to be my next question, but we already covered it with AI.
Yeah.
But there are some limitations using these kind of tools in your job, because it still requires
a little bit of
There's always going to be fine tuning when it comes to AI and things, because you also don't want to end up with any biases because your system is just running based on what it's seeing and recreating. Somebody will always have to go in there and like, hey,
manually review it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's tweak this a little bit, or the AI is doing too much over here and it's starting to filter this out on its own, and we don't want that. So there's always that kind of aspect of managing the AI while still keeping it running to do whatever it is we need it to do.
Definitely. And Norma, what are some of the challenges that you think are in underwriting? Are there some challenges that you encounter in particular in that part of the industry?
As far as what, as high risk, or
as in terms of high risk, or like handling people? I mean, that is, I think the human factor is definitely.
Oh yeah, and again, you have to be able to build that rapport with your salespeople. I know in credit or risk and underwriting, sometimes we don't want to, but I feel it's important, right? If you build that rapport with your sales team, then you can have a better handle as to what they're bringing in. And they're really more open to speak to you and to say, hey, this may not be a good account, or hey, this may come with an issue. So you have to build that rapport. If you don't build that rapport, I think they're just going to submit it and not care. Right?
Definitely.
But once you start building that rapport, they're going to say, hey, I want to work with you. And I really want to build my portfolio to be the best that it can be.
And just to add on to that as well, it also makes them more open to listening to when you have to tell them something, or your suggestions. Or, if it gets to the point where, hey, you know, like we really need to do this, or I really need you to look at it, they're more open to hearing your feedback as well, and trusting what you're telling them, and not thinking that you're just constantly, you know, fighting against them because we're risk and underwriting. So it creates that kind of good relationship. You don't have a fear.
Right. Yeah. We did that today, actually. Yeah, we did that today where we spoke with an ISO. And because we've built that rapport with the ISO, we were willing to listen to them and they were willing to listen to us. And that's how we work together.
That's how you grow,
yeah.
Definitely. So if you have one piece of advice to give ISOs to help them do their job better, not that they're not already doing a great job, but just something that, you know, sometimes people are shy or they're afraid of asking for help or for advice. So is there like one skill or one piece of advice that you think is important?
Definitely build that relationship with your sales team, and for the sales team to build that relationship with underwriting and risk. I think it is very important, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
When that's available, yes. I think Netevia is almost a little bit unique in that, to where you kind of have access to Norma, to myself, to be able to say like, hey, we'll walk you through this process, or you know, we'll review your portfolio with you. So that's one thing as well. And then the only thing I can say is the same thing almost like when you're talking about your team. If you have questions or you need a little bit of guidance, ask. We're here to help at the end of the day. I know it may not seem like that because once again, risk and underwriting, you know, it seems like everything has to be a fight.
We're here to win.
But that's not the case. At the end of the day, like, you know, we want to grow the business as well. They want to grow their side of the business.
Exactly. So it's about the long-term vision.
Right. It is. Once again, finding the people who are on the same mission as you.
And again, it's part of their success is our success. Right?
Exactly.
Because if they're successful, and if we're successful in helping them build a portfolio, then we'll succeed in what we need to do.
It's like, we're not against you. This is to help you.
Right. And I think a lot of people just think, oh, well, they don't want to approve. No, it's about, you know, we have to take care of
due diligence.
Yes,
definitely. Because that's also costs a lot of money, right?
It's calculated risk. We want to protect the company and make it grow. You know, it's not just push everything through and, you know, hope for the best. We have to look at certain factors. And then if we can kind of let you know, like, hey, this is where your performance is, we need to shift some things there. It's being open to that feedback. Because once again, the end goal is everybody has good business.
And just sustain that.
Right.
Obviously.
To sustain it and grow it.
And growing,
Yeah.
That's the key, I think, right? Is growing it. Because yes, we wanna sustain it, but we want to keep growing.
Exactly.
Right?
Sustainable growth.
Sustainable growth. Does the same goes for any type of relationship?
Right.
You due diligence, but then, you know, once it's established and the relationship is there, then it's normally
it excels. Hopefully excels. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for your time. I know that you have to run, but we are going to discover what is the liquor of the day. It's actually our little icebreaker. We can either start with it or end with it. What did you bring today?
We brought mezcal.
Mezcal. This was a gift from
one of our sales team.
Oh, yeah. Talking about great relationships. There you go.
Right.
That goes in line with what we were talking about. So perfect.
So this is a mezcal. I freshly opened, haven't tried it before.
So maybe we can do it now.
All right.
I think it's almost 5 p.m. or
it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
We'll probably cut that. I mean, the pouring part.
What's the smallest thing?
Well, cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I just want to point out that it's just also must be like difficult or challenging as women in a male-dominated industry. Because let's say it, when you go to payment, in the payment industry, there's a lot of men. So how do you navigate that as well?
You have to be tough.
Yeah.
it's a rough balance because, you know, you're expected to be tough. Women can be said to be emotional, things like that. When in comparison, it's the same response that a man may have, but because you're a woman, you know,
we're emotional.
You have to work.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
double.
I like to say that we are tough but fair. You have to be.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. You have to be respected, and you also have
Most
to
definitely.
be like,
And you have to be able to hold your own in some of the conversations.
Oh yeah.
of course.
I do think you may have to work a little bit harder to prove that you know what you're doing. Being at Netevia, having the opportunity to grow and be in the position that we're in is great. I don't think they've had women in this title
No.
ever. So two.
We have two.
Right. Yeah. Now there's two. So it's that balance that comes in, but I think overall just standing your ground when you need to. Not letting people walk over you just because they may think that they can.
Definitely.
And it's us knowing.
Very good advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, and even
It's not because
us,
you're a woman that you have to be soft or to be weak.
Right.
And then
and really, it's about women supporting women. If you think about it,
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Because
I don't. If Norma wasn't here, I probably.
and we have to, lift each other up.
of course.
Because
That's-
as women, we have to,
Yeah.
how you say, fix our, I'll fix her crown, she'll fix mine.
Exactly.
And hey,
Exactly.
let's keep going.
So we've supported each other a lot. So whenever she's having maybe a rough day, I'm like,
Yeah.
we got this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And we work through it together. Or when I'm having a rough day, Norma would call me and like, hey, it's okay.
Take a deep breath.
Right.
No, so strong women empower other women.
Right.
So
Most
I
definitely.
think it's a beautiful quality, and it's not easy to be like you're being a mom and a boss, and having to swallow
wearing all the hats.
your emotions
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, and you have to learn which hat to take off
Exactly.
and which one to put on.
Yeah.
Right?
So cheers to that. To strong women
yes.
at Netevia.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. And I hope you liked the content of this podcast. Share, like, and comment. And see you next time. Peace out.